Fallout 3 is trash because, the whole reason you play a role-playing game like Fallout is to role play and do whatever you want. And Fallout obviously has political themes, so your goal is to change the government to make it into the perfect government, except the theme is war never changes. So it's like kind of anticlimactic. The whole problem is that the governments that you choose to be a part of, which are essentially the factions in Fallout, or in any RPG, are kind of cookie cutter, which can make the story boring. But it's carried by its world building because it's a post-apocalyptic story. So like that doesn't really matter. But if I'm being honest, that is a subjective opinion. I don't mind cookie cutter characters. Frieza is one of the most popular villains in fiction, and he's very cookie cutter. I'm not a Frieza fan. Same thing with the Joker. I'm not a Joker fan, right? And Zamasu a hated villain, and he's a tragic villain with a tragic backstory. So, most people believe tragic villains who go from being a hero to a bad guy is the best villain. And that's not always true, especially, with people's opinions on Vader and Obito. But that's besides the point. So that's subjective. What I was just talking about. The main problem is that you have to find a family member in order for you to learn about the factions. But as you're looking for your family member who abandoned you, who is a part of one of the factions you can team up with, right? I can't even find my own family, so why would I want to do it in a game, right? No, but I'm just joking. That has nothing to do with fiction in real life. But real, I'm just playing around. But, a lot of players feel like that. But that's besides the point. But, like, I have no reason to be connected to the main characters of Fallout 1, Fallout 3, and Fallout 4, and probably Fallout 5, which is going to be trash, his family member, because one, this isn't a real-life person, and this character, I don't even know him, but they show up for 2 seconds at the beginning of the game, so I have no reason to care. Of course, the Siths in Fallout 4 actually make good villains, because they essentially are the opposite of the Brotherhood of Steel, where they believe that every human should be turned into a Sith, which is essentially a mix between a cyborg and an android, basically a bio-android from Dragon Ball Z. Basically a cyborg that is artificially created, unlike a normal cyborg, which is transformed from a human to a cyborg, or an android, which is a robot who is given human skin to look human like a Terminator. But that's besides the point. I do think, the Siths were like better villains in Fallout 4 than the Enclave, but I felt like the Enclave had cooler armor. So the Enclave looks toward the Siths have a better origin story. But Fallout 4 is not better than Fallout 3 because they messed up the special stats, which obviously weren't that good because, with the special stats, that's how you level up. And when you level up in Fallout 3, you can be at level 100, and that stat you use in order to, get a good item in the game won't even, work. So, it's RNG based, which sucks. I play for, how long is a Fallout game? Days to months? And, I don't get nothing from it. And, Fallout 4, you can't even figure out how to level up. First of all, Fallout 76 is ass because, the whole reason you play Fallout is to see a Fallout that created, specifically a nuclear Fallout that created, the apocalypse. So why are we playing co-op in Fallout? You can't play co-op if the game is story mode because you're given different story choices. No wonder the game has so many glitches in it. So essentially, Obsidian made Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. And, they did have some involvement in Fallout Tactics, right? Which is stated at multiple times, in games that parts of Fallout Tactics are canon and parts aren't, which is cool considering the fact, they do mention Michigan, in the Midwest and Fallout Tactics. And all we know is that there's tornadoes there, which is super weird considering that there's no tornadoes here now, because I'm currently in Michigan. But essentially, Obsidian lost the rights to Fallout, and Bethesda made Fallout 3. But in between the time Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 was being made, Fallout 4 needed better graphics and better gunplay than Fallout 3. Before Obsidian lost the rights to Fallout, they were making Fallout 3, which was renamed into Van Buren, right? And essentially, Van Buren was a 2D top-down game like all the other Fallout games except for Fallout 3. Because Bethesda made the 3D engine for Fallout 3 and all of their 3D games, majority of them, right? So, since who knows the Fallout franchise better than Obsidian, Bethesda's boss, Todd Howard, hired Obsidian to make Fallout New Vegas, which is essentially a 3D version of Van Buren, which originally was supposed to be Fallout 3. And Fallout 3 and all Bethesda's Fallout games are essentially spin-offs. They're not sequels to Fallout 2, but Fallout New Vegas is the only sequel to Fallout 2 because the main character of Fallout 2 who lost his memory due to a nuclear explosion at the end of Fallout 2 is an old man. Thus, Fallout New Vegas takes place hundreds of years after Fallout 2 essentially abandoned his son, who is the boss of a character who works alongside the main villain Benny. And basically this character is called Mr. Bishop. He's No Bark or the Chosen One's son. No Bark or the Chosen One is the main character of Fallout 2. And essentially the Enclave, well, the remnants or remnants of the Enclave do mention, No Bark, who is basically the guy who basically destroyed their whole faction and their families. So essentially, they have huge beef with him despite instigating the beef. What makes Fallout New Vegas different from Bethesda's Fallout games and Fallout 1 is this time you're not looking for a family member, right? You're looking to get revenge on Benny, who knows the dude who knows Mr. Bishop, right? And essentially, Benny works alongside the dude who works alongside Mr. Bishop, right? But basically, Benny works for Mr. House, right? And Benny essentially is a mafia boss and a gambler, right? At a casino. And essentially, this casino is run, well, more like overseen and run by Mr. House, who is a tech billionaire whose goal is to be a quote unquote autocrat, which is a good version of a dictator, right? But like most tech billionaires, like Elon Musk, who say they want to become an autocrat, their real goal is to use the fact they're an autocrat not to actually be a politician. Is to create new technology just to boost their ego because they got their ass beat in school. And essentially, Benny is Mr. House's second in command. And essentially, what Benny did is Benny smashed the chick who was a part of the followers of the apocalypse who practiced good anarchy. They were characters in, previous Fallout games, right? And they want to use anarchy in order to prevent the government from hoarding technology and only using it for themselves, specifically scientific and medical technology, right? Like Mr. House was, he has the secret to immortality, and instead of using it to help citizens, he's using it for himself to make himself immortal. So he can create dangerous technology like the robot that the followers of the Apocalypse chick transformed into Yes Man as a favor for Benny. And essentially, you're a courier, that's what you are, and you're like level 100, right? And you're delivering the platinum chip, which is supposed to be a poker chip, which has no value considering this game is, cowboy themed, right? And casino themed. But it turns out this is really a data chip or whatever to transform all of Mr. House's robots, including Yes Man, into super fighting robots like Mega Man. So essentially, Yes Man works for Benny and essentially shoots you in the back of the head, and you go from level 100 to level 0. Essentially, you have to kill Benny because Benny's gonna try and kill you because, one, you know, Benny's not a family member, he's a former business associate, and on top of it, it's not a virtual family member either, a fictional character in a game. Like, you have a reason to dislike Benny, but you in the real world have to do double work and re-level up and gain all the levels you had. What's great about New Vegas follows the theme war never changes, was every ending is bad because there's innocent casualties in war, even if, they're working for bad people, they could be good people forced to do it, like the slaves in the Legion, who is probably the second most evilest faction next to the Enclave. The theme of New Vegas is war never changes, but in order to kill Benny, you have to team up or force factions to team up in order to win the Battle of Hoover Dam. You have to side with one of the main factions, right? But there's no good ending because, there's innocent casualties on either side, even the bad guy's side. That's what makes this game great. On top of it, you learn the pros and cons of every government in the real world, even if they're objectively wrong. So there was some bitch ass game developer named Todd Howard, right? Who's, a game producer slash game developer slash game planner, right? And the most popular game he produced, of course, he's the boss of Bethesda, was Fallout New Vegas, right? And he didn't want to remake Fallout New Vegas, but he was jealous. The original creators of the game he made a spinoff to, well, actually, let's think. Three failed spinoffs to made a better game than them, right? So he said, oh, Fallout New Vegas is not getting remade. But as we know, Fallout New Vegas is unplayable on any Nintendo. Well, it's playable on PlayStation consoles, except it crashes on every PlayStation console. You have to pay $80 a month, right, to play it, every month, despite the game coming out in 2010, right? And on top of that, the game is like what when it's on sale, it can be like up to $20 on Xbox, not counting the DLCs, which give you months of content to years of content, right? Come on, Game Station. I know you ain't gonna do me like that. But Xbox was like, Fallout New Vegas is basically our exclusive since we took it from PlayStation at this point, and Nintendo can never run it knowing they have inferior technology. So what happened is that Xbox decided to take the blurry version of the Xbox 360 version of New Vegas and actually make it less blurry and updated the textures on the game. Of course, before that, the fans had already modded Fallout 4 New Vegas, right? To make Fallout New Vegas playable in Fallout 4's engine with Fallout 4's graphics and gunplay, which makes the game peak because, Fallout 4 sort of was mediocre, so they had to allow you to mod the game in order to make Fallout 4, a S tier game, right? So essentially, Obsidian's like, we can't remake New Vegas. Let's make Outer Worlds, which essentially it's like Fallout New Vegas, not as in depth, but the theme is capitalism instead of war and politics, which we've had enough of that in every RPG or shooter RPG, which is unique. And on top of it, you can actually fly a spaceship in space to other planets. You can't control it. Well, you can control it just barely using the warp speed function, right? So it was a unique premise. So Bethesda's like, these guys who made our career made a better game than us. So, right, they make Starfield after Fallout 76, and Starfield is Fallout 76 on steroids. The second you boot up the game, it doesn't even work. It just crashes, and like, y'all are using better technology than Fallout New Vegas, which came out in 2010. You're using like technology from the 2010s to the 2020s, and y'all still are screwing up. And there's this new Fallout show, which I mean is mid. Honestly, if you squint, it could be canon to the Fallout games, but I mean, you guys are going out sad. Bethesda, y'all need Obsidian back.